So did they give you a background of kind of what we're doing here?
Just like an interview?
Yeah, it's an interview. So we're kind of like having conversations about things that are interesting to you or hot takes, like wherever you want to take it. But like any beliefs that you have.
Okay.
And when we just have a civil conversation about it, there's a lot of people having not civil conversations.
Oh, okay.
And so we kind of want to have civil conversations where it's not necessarily debate, we're just exploring ideas together and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So yeah,
cool.
was there any topic that you thought about?
Self-love is
Self-love,
a topic that I live by.
Okay. Okay, so tell me more about
that. Well, I feel like a lot of people don't know who they actually are. I think we grow up being told to do certain things, and sometimes your parents and family influence you. And of course, when you get on your own, you're older, you're like, okay, well, I can kind of do my own thing too. But I also feel like society kind of puts you in a box and you kind of have to stay in a box, but then you don't have to. And I think when you start challenging the status quo, that's when you start getting backlash. And I feel like society isn't meant to express those opinions. So I think about scientists that have come before us, they're always looked at and seen crazy, but they discover stuff in space, they trust their intuition, and that's one of the reasons I like science, because the people who are outcasted are able to express themselves. So you kind of feel like self-love is like following your inner intuition? Yeah, it's following your heart, because I think everyone has their own beliefs and their own purpose on earth, even if they don't believe there's someone out there, guiding them. But I feel like we all have dreams. So I would say, and when you're young and people are like, what do you want to be? Some people are like, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be this. I want to be that. But then when we get older, people are like, that's not realistic. So then you stop thinking like that, because people are constantly telling you, no, you can't do that. But who are they? Why are we listening to them?
Right. Okay, so let's get it down to a claim. So I know we're talking about intuition and self-love. So that's important because you feel like people like kind of follow, like wind up in a better place in life if they do?
Yeah, because I use people who are in the spot that I want. So I look up to people who have what I don't right now. And I listen to them because I'm like, they obviously got to where they need to be. And it's like, we're conditioned to, I wouldn't say be average, but we're kind of conditioned just to stay in that place. And then it's like, if you want to go further, people turn against you and they're like, you're weird or you're crazy. Or if you ask questions, they're like, why are you thinking like that? I didn't even think about that, because we're trained to kind of stay inside of the bubble. But when you start going out of the bubble, I remember listening to this podcast, she was saying, there's like a bucket full of crabs and you're the crab that's like, okay, I'm gonna climb out of this bucket. And then everyone else is like, they're stupid, why are they climbing out of the bucket? And then they finally make it, like you finally make it out of the bucket, and then they start to realize that they're gonna get eaten. And they were like, oh man, I wish I would have climbed out the bucket, but you didn't. Sometimes you just have to do things without people telling you.
Following the crowd, yeah. Right? So on a scale of 1 to 100, if we can do this, how true, like 1 being not true at all, I don't think that this is the case, and 100% being this is absolutely true, like there's like probably nothing that convinced me that this is the case. How convinced are you that that claim is true?
For self-love?
Yeah, that self-love is valuable.
I would definitely say a 10.
A 10? Oh, what, out of 1 to 100?
Oh, sorry, 100.
100? Okay.
Or like 99.9%. Okay.
Is there anything that you can think of that might convince you otherwise, that maybe self-love wouldn't be like the route to go in a situation, or maybe it wouldn't be valuable?
I mean, I just feel like it's always valuable, because at the end of the day, you're only going to have yourself. So I feel like it can be seen as arrogant, or it can be seen in that way. I don't know, you have to get past the pushback in order to find yourself, and I do feel like that could be a bad thing. Yeah. Because when you say like, oh, I look great today and I look amazing, people are always going to be like, oh, you think you're all that? And it's like, no, I'm just happy being me. I'm not competing with anyone else, I'm just competing with myself. And then once you realize that it's in you, you don't really need any validation from anyone else.
Right. What about like a situation where you have family and maybe like others rely on you? Or like maybe what if your self-love isn't like in line with like your family and what they need?
Well, I feel like that's when you tread carefully. So I don't think you should just totally disregard them because everyone's on their own journey.
Yeah.
But you kind of accept people for who they are.
Yeah. What do you do in situations where, you have like a family or maybe a spouse or something and your self-love and their self-love conflict? Like, would you maybe be willing to, um, kind of like work with them and maybe go their route or something?
I mean, I believe in compromise, but I think if you listen to yourself and it's making you feel bad and it's making you feel sad, then it might not be it. That might just show you that that person's probably not for you.
So you would generally think that if things aren't lining up with like what your inside is telling you, then you're probably just not in the right place.
Yeah, I just think if there's a misalignment anywhere and you're not happy, you're not yourself, then it's probably just not for you.
Right. And in circumstances where maybe you followed like your self-love or what you wanted in life and what you thought was aligned, have you ever discovered that that wasn't like what was meant for you or what was like actually your thing? Have you ever experienced?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like all the time, life is about trial and error. So there's been things where I'm like, I really, 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 really want this. And then it was really hard for me to get it. And then once I got it, I was like, oh, well, I don't really want that anymore. It could be like with a person or a certain career. I'd be like, oh, I have it. That's not what I wanted. Or I didn't get something right away. And then something else happened. And I was like, oh, that's probably why I didn't get that. It's always just about alignment, I feel like. And then you have to trust that something better is going to come along because you can't have old things or you can't have things that aren't aligned because how are new things supposed to come to you? They can't.
Do you feel like you have to go through the process of experiencing those things and like making mistakes, like you said? Like,
Yeah.
you feel like you kind of have to walk
Yeah.
through that. But ultimately, self-love is like the thing.
Yeah, because no one's perfect. So I think it's either you take the chance or let the chance go by. I think it's all about making mistakes, but it's about learning from your mistake. Because if you don't learn from your mistake, it's going to be a never-ending cycle, and then you're going to wonder like, why do I keep getting in this position? And I always take an example. So, like when on social media they'll be like, look back at this day, and then you look back and then you're wearing the same outfit and you're like, why am I wearing the same exact outfit? That's happened to me multiple times, and I'm like, oh, so we're naturally gravitating towards certain things, and it's like you're naturally going to keep doing it until you break the cycle. And not everything's bad, not every cycle is bad, but I think certain things you kind of just have to stop it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, I'm trying to think where else we could go with this. So, the self-love thing, do you feel like when people follow their self-love that it doesn't end in a good way, it just wasn't self-love?
That's
Or-
interesting. I feel like it's easy to not know what self-love is because if you haven't had something, you're not going to know. So I think it's easy, like people in dating, they're like, oh my gosh, this is the best person ever. They're constantly looking for something and they're not happy. And it's like, I feel like it is easy to not know, but I think the more you know yourself, the more you can be like, no. And I feel like with indecisiveness too, if you're constantly indecisive, you're constantly like, oh, do I want this? Do I want that? It's kind of an indicator that you don't know what you want. And I think being indecisive is okay, but it's like if you walk in the store and you see a pink shirt and a black shirt, you really like the pink shirt, but you're like, oh, but I want the black shirt because it's going to match everything. It's going to match more. But then it's like, I have so many black shirts already, but it matches everything. Then your heart's like, I want the pink shirt. And then it's like, you should have probably got the pink shirt. You know what you want on the inside. I think you just kind of,
Right. I like that conversation. Is there any, sorry, are there any questions you have for me or like anything you want to explore?
I guess, what's your idea on it?
Yeah, I think self-love is generally a good thing. I think a lot of people don't value themselves, and you see that a lot of times in like relationships or something. They'll try to appease somebody else.
Yes.
Same thing with family. It's not just spouses and partners.
I agree.
So I could see that. I feel like I've seen cases though where some people maybe are too self-centered.
I
And
agree.
they don't think about their family.
I agree.
And sometimes when we get into these like arrangements, maybe some people don't see it as a contract or whatever, but depending on like family ties or relationship ties, sometimes I think that you kind of have to be selfless. Sometimes you have
Exactly.
to put yourself on the back burner.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's nice when things do align for
I
sure.
think it's like a balance thing because you should still have compassion, but you should still also kind of put yourself first. But like what you said, I think some self love can mix with the arrogance and kind of like narcissistic, and that's when you believe that you're better than everyone. But if you're only competing with yourself, then you don't think you're better than anyone. But I can see how certain things and how you are as a person can trigger other people, you know?
So maybe if you saw somebody who was like exhibiting that self-love, but it kept on getting them in like not good situations, you would think maybe that person needs a little less of that and needs to, you know, surround themselves with other people who
Exactly.
have some good things. You know.
Like more compassion, not just strictly self-love, because I think what you said, there is a like fine line between self-love and like narcissism.
Right.
So it's like you kind of have to be selfless, like you said. There is balance in it, so it's not just like me. No, it's more of a thing where if someone is making you sad, like friends, whatever, family, then you can take yourself out and be like, okay, what is going on? Reflect on yourself and be like, what can I do better in this situation? What can I do? Like take steps back and then, you know, correct yourself and put their feelings first or separate yourself from them.
So the test for that would be reality of just seeing around, like what does your life look like? How easygoing are things? How aligned are you in life?
Yes.
That would be your test for is
Yeah.
this self-love or is this like being narcissistic?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, I want to make sure Aliya, right?
Yes.
All right, Aliya.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for having a conversation with me, guys. So,
Yeah,
I
of
appreciate
course.
it. And yeah, they have the QR codes and everything, and you
Okay.
can visit it. It's his channel, so
Oh, okay.
he'll edit things and things might pop